Hello everyone, Happy New Year to you. Welcome to Barry Speaks, a platform that shares entrepreneurship journey. My name is Adebayo Ademola and I am bringing to you the third episode of Women's Corner 2.0. And today we are sharing the journey of Dr. Enobong Ezekiel, the founder of Corel 8. Stay tuned and get inspired by our journey. So let's start by getting to know you. Who is Dr. Enobong Ezekiel? I don't know if I pronounced the name well.
You did. Beyond the name, I'm sure I sent my resume. I'm not sure if I did. So you already have all that plenty educational and educational and academic part of me. But beyond the titles, beyond the roles, I would say that Enobong Ezekiel is a lifelong learner. I'm a people builder and I'm someone who deeply values authenticity. I see myself as a bridge, a bridge that is between potential and performance. And because I'm that one person that in terms of career, in terms of entrepreneurship, where I find myself now, I'm constantly seeking to help others unlock the best in themselves and become who they have been called to be. I'm that person who wants to help others with a lot of emphasis on women folk, the female gender. I'm that person that wants that woman to unlock, the very best in themselves, seeing that, there has been a bit of that not happening across organizations and even in entrepreneurship. And then at my core, I would say that I'm a woman of faith, I'm a woman of family, and I'm a woman of purpose. So that's who Enobong Ezekiel is beyond the name. Beyond the name.
Excellent. That sounds so good to hear. Right. So let's talk about your personal and educational background. So can you walk us through your personal education?
Okay. I grew up with an educational mother and an educational father. So what that means is that both my parents were educated. And education for them was uppermost of anything, because I used to remember that my father and my parents actually would say the best that they are going to give us is education. What we do after that, is our choice. So I would say I was raised with very strong values, of education, strong values of discipline, service. My parents were servant leaders in their own rights, and of course resilience, a lot of resilience. I think I took a lot of resilience from my mother. For my education, it's been a blend of education itself, because at some point I ventured into the education sector myself, but after a while it became a blend of management, became a blend of strategy, became a blend of commercial and transformation duties. And then topping it up with a doctorate, it sharpened my focus on organizational growth and leadership development. Because after having risen to, C-suite levels, top C-suite levels, it became organizational growth and leadership development. So I would say that this combination of personal grounding and formal education has really shaped me into, how I show up, either both on the professional end of my life or on the personal end of my life. So for me, education is quite paramount. It really doesn't matter, what you have. There has to be that basis on which you can ride on, So for me, those were my strong values of education, discipline, service, and resilience.
All right. So people used to say education is a scam, right? I believe you've heard that so many times.
Well, I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think about it? Right? What do you think when it comes to education? I don't know. Maybe because of the Nigerian system, 4 years, no job, People get to talk about the experience when it comes to businesses. They don't have the experience, and people feel like, so why do I go to school when that does not even count as an experience for me and all that? So what do you think about education?
Well, everybody would say education is a scam. At some point, these things come out even in conversations. You would always know, and you would always see that person who doesn't have that background shy away or shrink away when there are deep conversations happening. Quite a number of people started off without the education. Quite a number of the big men, as they say, or the guys making it, as they say. But at some point, I've noticed, and like I said, because I do a lot of um, performance, and I do strategy, I work with organizations. I've seen a lot of people who did not start off with having this, going back and even doing short courses, something to just bring them back onto the pedestal. So the truth is, like they say, I think there's a saying that if you think education is expensive or not required, try ignorance. When people have stayed on the path of ignorance for quite a long time, you find out that they eventually shrink out and are unable to, meet up with society. Because at the end of the day, if it's just the money that you're spreading about the space, you are still empty inside, and it shows a lot of the times. I'm sure you know that, Bayo. I'm sure you see that. I'm sure you've met people like that who eventually are unable to carry on, because at the end of the day, it's the intelligence that comes out eventually. And that's why we are now looking at the AIs and all that, and technology coming out in all different sorts of ways. People are embracing these things now because they know they don't step up, they will definitely be shipped out at the end of the day. So it's what you make of it. Yes, I agree that the system has not been very fair. Our government has not particularly paid attention to the right, one of the right sectors in our economy, which is education. Yes, but the truth is, it's perspective as well. How do you see it benefit you? How would it add value to you? I'm the kind of person that, like I said when I introduced myself, I said I'm a lifelong learner. I'm consistently learning. I'm going from one course into another course because I don't want to be in a room where important things are being talked about and I can't contribute to that conversation. And as a chartered counselor, a certified counselor, I know what I see when I have sessions with people. It leads to low self-esteem a lot of the times. So that's how I'm going to respond to that.
All right, very sounds so educative. So let's talk about your career journey. Right? How did you start? When how did you start your career journey? Right? And what inspired that journey?
Okay, so my career journey is funny because I studied English and phonetics as my first degree. So I remember my dad did not want to pay my school fees because he said I said I was going to study English. But that's what I wanted because at the time, so I had the opportunity to have studied something else. I will not lie. I'm not going to mention the course because probably even you will beat me, Bio. But I wanted to study English. Why? Because one of the things I really wanted at that very beginning was the ability to understand the English language, how to use it, when to use it, and in the appropriate scenarios. And I still do not regret having studied that as a first degree because it did open up a lot of doors for me. However, I moved from that. I did have a career journey in education. So I was teaching. I taught for about 5 years in a secondary school, a prominent secondary school. But I think at that time too, I felt, no, this is not going to pay well, so I better look for something else. Don't mind me. However, I began to have a strong curiosity, and a desire because I started working. I left education and I cut my teeth in banking, where I stayed for about 20 plus years in banking. So out of curiosity was how my journey started. Started out of curiosity because I saw that I was working with bosses who had ideas, who had, visions, but they were unable to, how will I put it? They were unable to translate those visions, or unable to implement and interpret those visions. So the journey for me now began out of curiosity, a desire on how to understand why, some organizations thrive while some struggle. And that curiosity was what now took me into strategy, into transformation projects, into understanding consulting, and of course leadership development. So that curiosity, actually took me along that journey. And over the years, having worked with diverse organizations, guiding them through change, equipping the leaders that are there. I've worked across four or five sectors of the economy. I've been in banking, I've been in FMCG, I've been in the power sector, I've been in aviation, and of course education, as I said before. So having worked across, them equipping leaders to succeed, I believe that every role, has been built upon the last and upon the last, and all the challenges I have been through has refined, my own voice and my own vision. So while starting off as, just the basic things I was doing, my main career journey began with a lot of curiosity. I began to dissect things. I became very friendly with data analysis. I was trying to understand, why would these organizations thrive? Why would this not thrive? So I started doing all that when I was in banking, because I moved across 3-4 banks, and I was always like, why would this bank be doing so good and this one would not? When the same market, what was going on? And so that's how it started with me, So it was curiosity, more like, that now took me across this whole entire journey, and over the years, so it became quite interesting. I became like an agent of change, hence the transformation part of it, and it was, also very interesting equipping leaders to succeed, and eventually, so leaders individually, and then of course as a corporate as well. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long journey.
Yes, it is a long journey. We're talking 30 plus decades of work. Yes, it is a long journey.
Long journey, right? So let's talk about your brand, right?
Okay.
The Corel 8. I don't know if it
correlate. Yeah.
Okay.
So some people call it Corel 8, but it's correlate. So the 8, was used so that we wouldn't write the words late. So just making it fancy.
Okay. All right. So can you walk us through what is the brand all about? What does it represent? What is it solving? What's the inspiration? What's the point behind it? And what are people saying about your brand?
Okay, thank you. When I saw this, I was like, oh, Bio brought my brand in. Nice. Correlate was actually born, like I mentioned earlier, my passion to help individuals and organizations, realign with their core essence and maximize performance as well. I recall when a few years ago, I think this was maybe 2016 or 2017, if I remember. I can't remember the year. When the British Council took a couple of us leaders, so they did some exercise where they chose a couple of leaders, 30 leaders, so we're about 2,000 that actually had applied for that experience, but just 30 of us were chosen, and we're taken on a journey we went to about 3 countries where we met with leaders from other countries as well. So it was a real net worth and network. there. And one of the things that I learned from that experience was in every individual and in every organization, something works. So, correlate is that passion of in every individual, in every organization, something works. So we come in to realign, the core essence of that individual or that organization to maximize, performance. And being a certified counselor as well, that also, adds to this adds to one of the reasons why Correlate was born. And Correlate itself, its name is that fusion of core and realignment, core and realignment correlate. So we're fusing, your core and ensuring that realignment to better you as an organization and better you as a person. It's so for me, the vision was about bringing together that core and that alignment to symbolize a transformation from within, as an individual, a transformation from within as organization. So to me, and what people say about my brand is that Correlate, represents empowerment. It represents wholeness, because I also have a mentoring series that I do. So I mentor. I have cohorts that come on board almost every quarter, and I do mentoring sessions. And then I also have a podcast which is called Makamba Unfiltered Conversations. And then of course I have the brand Correlate itself, where the counseling part also comes in. So it's wholeness, it's empowerment, and it's the courage to evolve into better. So Correlate has come to fill in that gap, or those gaps, so that when you have had an experience with us, you come out whole, you come out empowered, and you have courage to evolve. So that's what inspired me, to start Correlate.
All right, awesome. Awesome. Right. So let's talk about the power of identity right now. Right. So your brand as a strategy and transformation specialist, is built on leadership, empowerment, and results. If you had to describe your personal brand in 3 words, what would they be and why?
Well, you're going to hear the same words I have said over and over and over since we started this discourse. Authenticity, very important to me, would be one of the words I would say. Empowerment, because even our tagline says empowering minds and building the future. And then, of course, transformation. Empowerment, because I believe leadership is about enabling others. If you are a leader and you are not able to add value to the lives of other people, then you can't particularly say that that's who you are. Authenticity, because being real, is the only way to build trust. We are currently in an environment or in a system now that there is so much of packaging, if you allow me to use that word. There's so much of filtered things happening on especially on social media channels. So you can't even see the real in these things, if you understand what I mean. So authenticity, there's that one of the reasons why Makamba was, we call it, it's called Unfiltered Conversations. It's because when you come onto that show or podcast, as the case may be, is real. We're not going to accept you trying to package or hide. How did it happen? What happened? That authenticity is what builds trust, and it's important for people to, trust my brand. You understand? And then, of course, transformation. Our work is rooted on, is completely rooted in guiding people and organizations, to bring about meaningful change. So transformation is key for me. Having worked out of the sectors I mentioned, I worked in 2 of the sectors I worked in. Reasons why I came on board in those sectors was the transformative bit. We were brought in to assess and bring in transformation, into those organizations. So transformation remains very important because transformation is all about the mind of the organization, mind of the individual. Once you can create a change from within, then the outside begins to work. You begin to see that transformation on the outside, but you have to first get it out from within. So that's how I would describe my brand, my personal brand.
All right. So you mentioned empowerment, right? So
Yeah.
what led you into empowering people?
One would be I was blessed to have quite some good mentors, and I still do actually. And these mentors were mentors that poured into me. And I always remember them saying, because I have different mentors for different reasons, and each one of them, I mean, this is not everybody in one room, but each one of them would always ensure with a passing, a closing remark or a closing saying, pay it forward, pay it forward, pay it forward, if you understand what I mean. So so I became that person that, what, if you learned and grew so much and were empowered by other people who trusted you, who believed in you, then you need to pay it forward. And so that's what that's how empowerment is, because the more you empower, especially at the C-suite level, which is where there's very, very little empowerment happening. Everybody is being very selfish. Everybody is being, hiding and keeping it to themselves, and they want to stay on levels and titles for so long. I'm the kind of person that I have groomed. That has happened over and over and over up until I left the corporate world. I would always groom a team member to take over from me. That always happened. I shared the secrets. I shared the nuggets. I shared, the challenges. I shared all those things. It was important. I held sessions. And I always used to tell them, I want one of you to sit here. It will be foolhardy for them to bring some external person to come do something that you have been doing with me all this while. And thankfully, everywhere I have had to move, maybe moving a step up in the organization or moving to another one, it's always been a team member that has taken over. So empowerment, because like I said before, leadership is about enabling others. Create that space for somebody else to come and do it. It's not a me, myself, and I. It's an Ubuntu. It's a community. It's I am because you are because we are. That's how I am. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about you're into women empowerment too as well.
Yes.
Advocating for in leadership,
Yes.
right? So how did this journey begin? Empowerment in a central part is a central part of your mission, and how does this advocacy reflect in your brand and influence the way people perceive your work? Right. So a lot of people used to think that women empowerment is just about women supporting women. Right? Why not men?
Yeah.
Why is everybody going for women? So how does this, how did you start and what, influenced this?
Like I said, as I mentioned before, I had mentors that created environments for me, and most of these mentors are women. If you understand what I mean, they are women. So for me, empowerment is not an initiative, or the advocacy is not an initiative. It's my identity. It's my identity. I started by ensuring that I wasn't seeing a fellow woman as competition. I saw a fellow woman as one who I needed to intentionally create a space to rise, which is one of the reasons why I started the mentorship program, the coaching program. People have said to me over time that they see me as a brand, they see me as a mirror, a reflection of what women can achieve if they've been given the right tools and support. And I was fortunate to have been given the right tools and support, in my career, especially. I was very, very fortunate. Yes, I had one or two that were nasty, if I may use that word. But that did not, that was not a majority. A majority were, women who taught me things, who wanted me to become like them, who created, a space for me. So that is what I'm trying to do with, that's my advocacy, I teach women things that I have gone through, things that drove me through setbacks, through challenges. I teach women, how my work has shaped my life, and how I've continually moved forward. So for me, it's not an initiative. It's intentional. It's my identity. So I inspire these women, both practically in inspiring them. I teach them to build their confidence, letting them know that their expertise will continually open doors. I teach them to find their voice because, as I've mentioned over and over, authenticity is the greatest currency anybody can have, male or female, actually, And I teach them to stay resilient because challenges are going to come. I worked in an organization, 3 organizations that were predominantly male dominated, and there was the need to stay resilient. So I teach them to, to understand that their persistence in work, in staying in the place, in doing what they need to do, turns their barriers into breakthroughs. So for me, that is what my advocacy is. That is what, my empowerment is, where I'm consistently empowering these women, to know that the real measure of success lies in a transformed life along the way. So a legacy I want to leave behind for them would be one of, I've said it over again, you're going to keep hearing this bio, because for me, it's consistency, it's empowerment and transformation. If all the women leaders across industries, say that the women that have come in contact with across industries rise and say that I opened a door, or I modeled some sort of courage, or I shared my wisdom with them, then bio, I will die empty because my work will be complete. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So you mentioned nasty, right? In the business world of today, right? So women are one of the most difficult people to contend with when it comes to business, right? And a lot of people talk about them. I know a lot of people who talks about women. Oh, my boss, my female boss she's so tough, right? She doesn't give us space. And all that. What do you think about it? Is it because of they have rivals who are males, or is it just that they're just trying to meet up with their goals?
Yes, I've all, like I said, it's first and foremost, it's about you, really. What have you come on board for? I've heard that stuff, and I'm sure people have also probably said it about me without me knowing, to say, oh, I'm tough. You would say I'm tough if I'm trying to get you to become a better you. You may say I'm tough if I'm trying to get performance, or I'm trying to get you to deliver on maybe projects and stuff like that. You may brand me like that, okay? Like I said, yes, there are some women that are outright nasty, and it does not necessarily be the environment that they are. It could be something from their background, their growing up days, having become a certified counselor and having gone through sessions with quite a number of people. A lot of things are locked up in your subconscious, and you do not even know when you're bringing that out, when you are dealing with people. So it could also come from there. And so they are looking for ways of taking it out on other people. But I'm also the kind of person that I can be very patient until I get what it is that I want. So even these nasty women that I talked about when I was, which I mentioned earlier, they have become my very close allies or friends. And that's because when I began to understand that there were different ways you could unlock people, I began to apply it. And this supposedly nasty people today have become, people that I go to for advice and things. So it could also, sometimes it's also you, the person, the woman or the man. Take your time. I worked in one of the sectors where I was completely the head of that entire business unit, and every other position was held by and the key positions were held by the men. I took my time to ensure that they bought into the vision that I had for that business unit. So it's also about you as well, checking yourself and ensuring that you're putting yourself in a place where you've done all you need to do without necessarily branding the other person. So that's how I would respond to that.
All right. So can you share a story? I know you have a lot of stories of women being empowered, right? But can you share a particular story where you empowered a woman, right, and she's now doing excellently well for herself?
Okay, I like this question, but I won't mention names if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's fine.
There was a young lady. She's currently abroad right now. She's relocated. That's what I mean. So she always had. So we started off with her having imposter syndrome. That's what I would call it. She didn't believe in herself. She constantly just felt she always shied away or ran away from taking responsibilities. One or two conversations with her, because at the time she wasn't exactly, even up until I left that organization, she wasn't exactly working directly with me. We would collaborate on one or two projects that came on ground, but I knew that she had potential. I knew she had potential. Because sometimes when she was asked a question or responded to a presentation or something, I could see it. So I did engage her and got her, to become a mentee. So we embarked on what was a one-on-one, mentoring program that happened across, I think she's about the longest I've ever mentored, happened for about 8 to 9 months. And part of it was trying to break the imposter syndrome, which is, I don't see myself that I'm good enough. Why not this person? Why not that person? And we went across that. We put her on pedestals. I found opportunities where she could start public speaking at webinars, about 3 or 4 actual on-site speaking engagements, took her for several meetings, began to ask that she be invited for meetings because the role I occupied at the time allowed me for that. So whenever I wanted to have 1 or 2 of people in her peer group, I would always insist. So I began to open her to that. I began to give her assignments that pushed her, and over time. And within the 8 to 9 months, before I now eventually left, she had, almost like broken herself out of the box, because I used to tell her, don't think outside the box, actually break the box. And so that's exactly how she began to operate. And we saw this person evolve from a very timid person, and today she's holding a very, very key role. She actually started here before she was now moved to the office overseas, and that is a success story that gladdens my heart so much, because every time, and a lot of the times, because we catch up, she comes, it's always very humbling to hear, I would never have been here without you, you understand? And like I was told by my own mentors, I tell her to pay it forward. It's time to also need to pay it forward. It's your time now to pull up somebody, whereby you can also sit back. So I've done that for a couple of people. So they belong to a group and they call me their chief inspiration officer. So that really warms my heart. Yeah.
All right. That was an interesting story. So let's talk about storytelling,
Yeah.
right? How important is storytelling in shaping both your brand and the brands of those you mentor?
Storytelling, I really didn't used to do a lot of it before, but in the last maybe 1 decade, it has become a strong point for me because for me, storytelling is the heart of influence. If you want to connect with people deeply, and connect with people's experiences and show some sort of, humanity, leadership, then storytelling is that heart of influence. So, in my brand and of course in my mentorship, I use storytelling a lot. My mentees will rightly tell you that I'm not sure I can go a full two, three, four sentences without bringing storytelling into it, because storytelling helps you to take away the abstract. You take away everything that you're trying to say in the abstract strategy, and then you begin to put it into relatable lessons. So people begin to see themselves in those possibilities. They begin to see themselves in those possibilities. So if you just leave, the talking into the leaving it as the abstract and allowing people to just be thinking, human beings are naturally visual and imaginative. So when you're using storytelling, as a strategy, what you're doing is people begin to see themselves in those things and go, okay, all right, so she did this. Oh, he did that. Okay, I see the possibility. Oh, I started doing this before. Oh, maybe I should go back. So they begin to see themselves in those possibilities. They begin to see the relatability in what it is that you're saying. They even begin to see the opportunities that they missed, and then they're alert to say, if these opportunities come again, I'm definitely going to grab it. So storytelling actually leaves, a memory for you, so to speak. And so for me, it's key. It's a strategy for me. I can't do without using storytelling for um for my business.
All right. So do you think without storytelling, brand will won't
I'm
survive?
sorry.
All right. So do you think without storytelling, brands won't survive?
To a great extent, they will struggle. They would struggle. Um, the world has become so fast paced that you need something to catch people's attention. I don't know if you understand what I mean. You need to catch people's attention. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of distractions happening. So if you're going to, and then there's a lot of unkindness happening. So if you're going to have a human side of your brand, you have to bring in storytelling where people can begin to relate with you. People can actually begin to relate with you so that they can understand clearly what it is that the message you're trying to pass across, you know. Because if you don't do that, you will lose people. You will lose people. You recall when, and I think those ads still happen. FMCGs do that a lot. Imagine if they are not using storytelling to sell their product. How do you just see something on the shelf and you didn't see how it's storytelling there. So they are doing an ad. They are not just putting the product out there. They are doing a story on how the product is to be used. So brands, I won't say they would die, but I would say they will struggle, and they will struggle really well, to be able to pass on the message, and of course be able to be profitable, which is of course is the end for every business at the end of the day.
All right. So let's talk about your leadership. Right now, how would you personally define leading by example, and how do you embody that in your work and mentorship?
When people ask me this question, okay, leadership. Leadership is a powerful responsibility. it is a powerful responsibility, and it's about consistency, between words and action. It's about embodying values. You can't be something in your private sphere, and then you are something else in the public sphere. It's what are your values? And for me, leadership is whether I am in a mentoring session, whether I am on the stage doing my public speaking, whether I am giving a presentation in the boardroom, I want to embody those values that I teach, because I want people who listen to me, who follow me, who have a lot of regards for me, who value my brand, know that these things are not theories, but they are realities. Because if I'm teaching integrity, if I'm teaching about or speaking about integrity, and speaking about empathy, about discipline, I need people to trust that it's not just theories, but realities that I, Enobong, lives. Sometimes there are doubts. There's no doubt. The journey sometimes comes with the doubts. There are moments when I probably have failed. There are moments when progress in my own life, my own brand, and all has failed. However, because leadership is a journey, it's not a sprint. I constantly must. That's why storytelling is important for me. I bring these things out in the course of speaking to other people, helping them turn their setbacks into stepping stones. I do that especially when I'm doing my mentorship program, when I'm helping people, and then of course my faith plays a major role in this as well. I can't be one thing and then be projecting another thing. So leadership for me is consistency in the words that I speak, in the actions that I project. Leadership for me is leading by example, knowing that those values that I speak about and I teach are values that are consistent, whether I'm in my private sphere or in my public sphere. So that's what leadership, leading by example, is for me.
All right. So, in one word, what's your leadership style?
I am empathetic. I'm an empathetic kind of leader, but empathetic doesn't mean that I am not firm. Okay, empathetic means that I am trying to ensure that I understand clearly what is happening on each side of whoever I am dealing with at that point in time, So empathetic on one hand would be I'm connecting with you on the sides that you are having issues with and trying to see how I can build you to becoming a better you. Empathetic on this side would also be you do not have the right requisite capacity or propensity to become what you are, and then begin to open those doors, maybe through trainings, referrals, and things like that. Empathetic will also be, I understand your shortcomings, I understand your shortfalls, and I am here to support you to ensure that you can understand what it is that you have been brought to do, and you must deliver on what you have been brought to do. So I would say I'm empathetic, but I'm firm.
All right. So let's talk about it, because you highlighted your setbacks, right? So can you share a moment whereby you faced one or two challenges, and how did you pull through those moments?
Okay, so I remember very clearly a time when I was given a project. I had, you know how you come into an institution, and then because it's a high level C-suite position, and then you're given an assignment to do. and all these things are supposed to happen at the level of your supposed maybe 90 days or 100 days, as the case may be. So you have come in and said you can deliver on something, and then you were unable to because of some setbacks. Okay, so in that whole place, I faced a lot of issues because one, first I was new to that sector. But they still brought me on board because they saw my strengths in some other things. And then they gave me this assignment. I do remember saying that within this time frame I have been given might literally seem, not doable. But I mean, they didn't really want to listen, but it was fine. I don't shy away. Like I said, I broke imposter syndrome years ago from my life. So I took on that, and I had to come on board to learn quite a lot of things. So I would say that in trying to learn how to put that project together, at some point it didn't get to, I wouldn't say it failed, but the progress was very, very slow. And then delivery did not meet the timeline. And there was a lot of hula baloo about the whole thing. But like I said, I'm a very resilient person, and I did not also want bias to define me because I started to hear I told you, don't put a woman in this position. It should have been a man. A man would have delivered because a man would have done this faster and all. And, I heard a lot of that, but I didn't let that define me. My resilient spirit kept me going. What I did with that was to say, yes, this didn't come on board as that within the timeline, but I came with solutions. So I didn't just shy away and say and give so sorry. I came back to the table and I put down another solution, and I asked for another extra couple of days, weeks that we would deliver on that. What I then did was to find a more, I'll use the word sophisticated way outside of what their expectations were. So I told myself that since I didn't deliver within that timeline, I wasn't just going to come on the basis of what their expectations would be. I was going to take that project a top notch or two notches up and deliver more than their expectation. And that's exactly what I did with my team. We took it a top notch. We expanded beyond the horizon of what was expected of us. And we brought solutions and delivered. I dare say that project, that solution is still being used in that organization till today. And I still have, that network of leadership, of executives that I worked with at the time who are still, we are still both on our good sides till today. So there are people I can run to if I need, some sort of mentoring or whatever. So that's what it did for me. I took what seemed like a challenge for me and I turned it into what became a success story. Yes.
Amazing. All right. So personally, what keeps you going? Right.
When you say what keeps me going, I want to understand in what concept.
What keeps you going, especially in difficult moments, right? What keeps you going to keep pushing, to keep sustaining yourself, to do what you love doing, and all that?
I always tell myself that as long as I have breath when I wake up every day, as long as God gives me, breath of life for a new day, I will never stop. I'll keep going. I know that a lot of quite a number of friends that I know, people that I know give up at the slightest. And I'm at that realm now where I'm trying to even speak to, friends who probably used to be colleagues at some point who have become, friends and all, to get up again and run, regardless of the age. Every time, sometimes I want to feel bad. I always remember the KFC story. I remember the KFC story. I don't know why I put if you come to my study, I have a KFC story very much around me. So I have around me a lot of motivational and inspirational write-ups. So, around my office space, I have a lot of that around as well, because there's so much negativity going around that the urge to give up is so much stronger than the urge to continue. So you have to deliberately and intentionally build that resilience for yourself and put the things that will continue to keep you going around. So I have a lot of, of that around. So they come from scriptures in the Bible. They come from quotes from, very prominent people that I respect a lot. They come from stories of people that have had businesses or individuals that have had challenges, but they broke through and they are standing and they are delivering. So I keep those. Remember, I mentioned that human beings are very visual. So I don't just keep them in my head, I keep them around me so that I can see these things and they keep pulling me to, want to do more and more. So every day I wake up, as long as I have the breath of life, I can keep going for as long as. Thank you.
All right. So do you have a favorite quote, or do you have a daily affirmation? That you recite early morning?
There are two scriptures that are very, very important to me. There are quite a number that I cite, so I can wake up and but there are two scriptures that I cite every day. One of it is, "Be still and know that I am God." I do not play with that scripture, because sometimes when I feel like there's anxiety rising up within me, once I say those words, once I speak that scripture, I get a calmness in my spirit, because it says, "Be still." You have to stop the entirety of your anxiety and all the noise happening around you and within you. You have to let it, be settled. So when I say be still and know, it brings, another one is, and this is my favorite, and this is a scripture that was personally given to me by God. I think that's Psalm 46:5, 6, which is, "God is within her, she will not fail, and God will help her at the right time early." That's a scripture that I got from God. When I was going through some moments of my life that was quite turbulent, that scripture was so well received. God, so I have personalized it. So I say, God is within Enobong, she will not fail. God will help her that right early. So these are two very personal scriptures, that I tend to speak. For quotes from other people, those are around me, but these ones, they are life for me. Yeah.
All right, those are two deep scriptures, motivational scriptures, right? I have some questions that surround spirituality, but I don't want to go there right now. So let's talk about your startup story, right? Everyone has their startup journey, their story. How was it like started? How did you grow? Everybody has this gradual process. We learn from, our journey and all that. How was everything like for you?
Okay. Your startup story must kind of have, something that is tied to you, something that brings out that, how will I put it? That thing that you have nursed for a while. You understand? It was, like I said from the beginning, it was a passion. So this is not exactly the first startup I've had. I've actually had a startup, what's it called? Business, but it was a product business. It was a product business, and I ran that business for about 8 years, and that also stemmed from a passion as well. So I was doing home interiors and decors and all, and that also was a passion, because I was doing that in my home a lot, and I felt it was something I could turn into a business, and I did turn that into a business, which I ran for about 8 years. However, I was, like I said, I was curious, And you must want to be solving a startup story. You must be trying to solve a problem. The initial problem was the kind of pieces I was bringing in were not exactly things that people were seeing in other places. So I had clients like hotels and all that. However, it became something that was full blown. Quite a number of people were doing it. It also wasn't so interesting to me anymore because I had delved into the life of strategy, transformation, performance, and all that. So that's how. So Correlate for me was more of a vision to a venture kind of story. Every startup would naturally start with a problem to solve, because I always say, because I'm also a facilitator, so I facilitate for two business schools in Lagos, Nigeria, the Joseph Business School and the Rome Business School. And I teach entrepreneurship, startups, and business models and innovation. So I always say that if you come into the market space and you come without knowledge of a problem to solve, then just go back and sit in your house. So for me, the problem was clear. Organizations and leaders were struggling with transformation, not because they lacked talent, but because they were misaligned, with what their core values were and what their true potentials were, So I saw that. I kept seeing this pattern as I moved from one sector, one organization to another. I was seeing it. Leaderships and team members were chasing performance. They were not stopping to ask, what is at our core? What do we stand for? So there was a lot of misalignment that was happening. And this misalignment was causing growth, causing the organization and even the individual growth, innovation, and even credibility. Because when you have things like management performance reviews, of which I was always a part of because of the role that I was handling at the time, or at the times, I would also always see people struggle during this, and that's where it started. So the idea is not an overnight success kind of thing, It's come from over 2 decades of working with organizations at different growth stages, building my own mentoring brand. It started as mentoring, and after having worked with over 2 decades, so it's come from there. So it's not just about me having launched a business, having launched Correlate. It's about birthing a movement. Correlate has faced quite a number of hurdles. It's still facing hurdles, but it's about positioning for me. How am I going to ever explain transformation in a way that feels practical and not abstract if I do not go through the challenges of building, this trust? How will I how will I let people lean on my strengths, of consistency, of results, if I don't share real life stories of how, I've gone through my own process and the transformations I've gone through and all, and how I'm trying to get Correlate to stand out. Clients will not see it if I do not share this, So, like I said, I run mentoring cohorts. First of all, it started as a small circle of professionals that I was bringing together who were hungry for growth, who were hungry for strategy, who were hungry for clarity. It was started like bringing them in small batches of 3 or 4. Today, I have mentorship series that are spanning 20 to 25, sometimes almost 30. I have to reduce it sometimes, of people, because the success that comes from there, from these 3 or 4 or 5 was what, confirmed that need to expand that platform where I could begin to empower leaders more, especially women, with tools of confidence, of presence, So it's for me, Correlate is not just about business growth, it's legacy. Enobong is very passionate, very, very passionate. I'm passionate about breaking barriers. I'm passionate about changing the narratives. I'm passionate about empowering women. I'm passionate about bringing more women into the leadership roles, So I want, Correlate to be remembered as a startup that, that says that I want to be a catalyst for leaders who lead with authenticity, who lead with courage, and who lead with vision. So that's it. That's the correlate I want to leave behind.
Amazing. All right. So, briefly, now, what advice would you suggest to startups or people who are just willing to start up or still thinking about what to do?
Bio, don't put me on the hot spot here because so the question is, say the question again. What advice?
All right. So, what advice
Yeah.
would you give to startups or people who are still thinking about their ideas or aspiring startups or people who are in the business already but still lost in it? So, what advice would you give to them?
So first of all, I would say, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, you have to first of all know that you're coming on board to solve a problem. If you are not coming to solve a problem and you are just joining, the bandwagon to say I want to become an entrepreneur, or I'm an entrepreneur, then it was going to be a dead on arrival project for you. So the advice I would probably give to startups or aspiring entrepreneurs, whether you are at a startup point, whether you are at an ideation point, in short, let me even start from there. Whether you're at an ideation point, whether you have already started, and you're trying to scale up your business, I would always say, always start with clarity. There must be clarity. That clarity of purpose is important. You can't be chasing trends. You have to know why. Your whys must come in place. Why are you building? What are you building? If you can get your purpose right, then your purpose will sustain you even when you haven't begun to see the profit. So for me, Correlate hasn't exactly started making that much money, because even things like the mentorship series that we're doing, sometimes it's done pro bono, sometimes, yes, it has a price to it, but a very subsidized cost to it. So people come because when they probably go and see what other mentors are charging, they run back because they're like, how? So the profit may feel far away, but your purpose is what will allow you continue to stand. And then there's a need for you to build resilience as you're building your business, because setbacks are going to happen. Setbacks will happen. Guarantees will happen. Those setbacks are guarantees that will happen. Sometimes you may not have the funding. You may go for pitches. You're trying to pitch, like I pitched Correlate at a business, at some business opportunity over the weekend. There would be failed pitches. You might go there and you might not get what it is you went for. You might even have clients that are skeptical. Are you sure you can deliver on this? I'm not sure. Let us better stay with who we know. Resilience will keep you. It will help you rise every time you hit these setbacks. And then there's a need to validate that idea. You must validate your idea. Don't just say you have the idea. This idea is going to work. You need to test it. I had to test Correlate. I had to test what I was doing. So of course I have a support system group where when I come up with ideas and all, I test. So you need to test. You need to ask the questions. You need to be open to the feedback that you receive as an entrepreneur or as a startup, as aspiring entrepreneur, or you already run your business. Your idea may, is not just something you put out there. Your idea must be as strong as a problem that you want to resolve, for real people. Because you're putting out this business not for fancy, it's for real people. So your idea is only as strong as the problem that you want to solve. If this idea you bring out is not going to solve anything, or not going to solve to the level or that you want, then you need to just end it. You must focus more on the people. So I say this to entrepreneurs when I teach entrepreneurship, startup, business model and innovation. I say this: focus on the people, not just the products. whether it's the service or product, focus on the people. A great team, will help you. A great network or a strong network will help you. Focus on the people that will guide you to be more valuable. Your business plan will fail you, but if you're focused on the people, not just the product, then you will get, that. And then you must have a mentor. Have mentors who can guide you. So you can have a mentor within the service industry that you are in. I have mentors within this sector that I'm in. There are people that have gone ahead of me. They may not be doing things that are similar with what I'm doing, but they definitely have done something that is within this, and they can guide me. So entrepreneurs do, a lot of entrepreneurs, startups and they're aspiring, or they don't have mentors. You must have mentors who can guide you, so that you are more valuable, than this, go with the business plan, sit with them, build a team that understand your vision and the mission and the core values of what you want to put out. And another thing I would say is embrace storytelling, embrace storytelling. When I start, like I said, I embraced storytelling about a decade ago. So in trying to put this out, like the pitch that I said I had over the weekend, I used a lot of storytelling in my pitch, and that helps because you're sitting in a room where you have aspiring potential investors, that would help because if a compelling story, people connect more to a compelling story than if you just put up a slide that has plenty spreadsheets, So there's a need to tell your why. And you tell your why with a lot of clarity. You tell your why with a lot of conviction. Hence that storytelling. Because your customers can see it. And that's one of the things that helped me to, when I had my first startup, where I was selling those products. I would take a product, one piece of the item, and I would tell a story behind that item. So if you even walked into the shop as a customer and you just were trying to window shop, you would end up buying, something before leaving. So I would tell them to embrace storytelling. I would tell them to scale smart. So people start small. Start small. In the marketplace, we say start lean. Start lean, scale smart. You don't have to be perfect before you start. If you're convinced that your idea, if you're convinced that that thing you want to put out there can solve the problem, then you don't wait to be perfect before you launch out. I did not wait to be perfect. I didn't. When I decided that I was going to go out of the corporate world and launch Correlate, I did not wait to be perfect. I launched out. I began with what I had, and then I started to refine as I went, and then I allowed the results to be able to begin to shape my growth. So I would say start lean, and then you begin to scale smart. Then protect your values as well. Very, very important. Your values. I've talked about my values so much in the course of this conversation. I've talked about it. As entrepreneurs, integrity is so key. Your integrity will be tested. You as entrepreneurs, you need to know on time. Don't enter into it if you know that you are going to compromise. No matter the opportunity that comes your way, if you know that there's going to be compromise along the way, it's best to just stay away from it, because as entrepreneurs, you will be tested. Your integrity will be tested. It will be tested. And then I would add this. I did an Insta Live last week on Instagram. And one of the things I said on that Insta Live was, and it was an Insta Live for entrepreneurs on my Correlate handle, on Instagram. And I said, entrepreneurs must remember that this race is a marathon, not a sprint. Growth takes time. So it's important for them to pace themselves. Don't put too much on your plate at the same time because you see that the next person is doing so much. Benchmark yourself against yourself. Yes, watch what competition is doing. Take notes and prepare yourself when you get to that level. But pace yourself and learn to celebrate your small wins. You cannot be measuring your journey on someone else's timeline. Celebrate your small wins. I celebrate my small wins. We were at a fair over the weekend, the first ever Lagos mainland trade fair. And I've celebrated my wins on my Correlate the spaces on all my social media handles, whether it's on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Celebrate your small wins. It's important. Entrepreneurs must learn to celebrate their small wins. They don't need to wait for that big time when there are 1 million people, and then no, celebrate your small wins. I hope I didn't say too much, but this is the kind of advice I would give, and this is advice that has helped me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of advice, and I believe they'll make use of it too as well. All right, so let's talk about outside, because just a few questions left, and wrapping up the reception, right? So, let's talk about the human side of a brand, right? Now, beyond boardrooms and mentorship, who are you outside your professional identity, and how does that personal side strengthen your brand?
I am a mother. Enobong is a mother. So beyond all the plenty razzmatazz, I am a mother. I'm a mother to very amazing children who are doing well in their own sphere. I'm also, how would I put it? I'm also a lover of meaningful conversations, and I need to explain what I mean. I do not like to be in a room where conversations are being held that doesn't add value to me, So, if I'm in that room because the whole essence is I want to learn from you and I want you to learn from me. So that doesn't mean that I'm very rigid or bio. That's not what I mean. I'm a very playful, loving person as well. But if we're in a room where we're having those conversations, I want them to be meaningful and add value. I'm one that I like to embrace. I do a lot of reflection, so I embrace reflection a lot. I like to sit back and say, what happened? What do I do better? So I do a lot of reflecting. I enjoy reading. I journal a lot. So I'm that person that I don't go to bed without journaling every single day. And then I like to create safe spaces around me. I'm very intentional about my rest and my well-being. Very, very intentional about that. So you would say I'm a gym rat. I also play squash, a lot of squash, which I have also played at tournament level as well. I play a lot of tennis as well. I'm very personal about my well-being, so I'm the kind of person that you will see going out and having fun. I go to sip and paint events where I just go and relax, and all. I'm very grounded in my personal life because my personal life strengthens my brand. My personal life helps people to connect with me, not just as a strategist, but as a very, very, very relatable leader that is not about perfection, but about wholeness. So that's the human side of, of me, Enobong, as outside, all the professional and entrepreneurship things. So I'm that mother that sits down, and my first two kids run businesses. So I would sit down, and I'm that person that I give them that time to run whatever challenges or issues that they have. So I'm that kind of person, Yeah.
All right, amazing personality. All right, so let's talk about your recognitions. I know you have a lot of recognitions, so can you share some of your recognitions with us? No.
Oh God. I have been oh God, this is a private part of me, bio. I don't know. I'm not one to put these things out, honestly. I'm not. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not one to put these things out. I don't know if I can pass. I would just like to be addressed as someone who has had recognitions, from our local and international platforms that affirm my impact.
All right. Now, this brings me to a question, because you said you are I'm not going to say it out, right? So a friend of mine
Yes.
used to say like titles. I don't even like people who put their titles to their name, right? So
Yeah.
what the title, for instance, the doctor is the title, and I know that people have a lot of things to attach to their name and all that. So what does this title brings to you, right? Does it open a particular door? What bragging, right, does it bring? I don't know, but it doesn't like it. So whenever I see someone putting title, like, why is this person putting PhD, MSc, doing that? It always complaining. I was like, I don't understand.
Those are celebrating your wins, Obayo. It's not easy. Is it easy to go to school and sit through all those things? That's them celebrating themselves. It's not they are allowed their bragging rights, if you ask me. As long as you are confident that the school did not go through you, you went through the school. Do you understand? And you earned it. Okay? You earned it. I'm a black belt holder from the International Institute of Six Sigma, where we do business processes and all. But that is not easy. It's not easy at all. And you are taking an exam in a product environment whereby the camera is looking at you, you are sitting in front of the camera and you're expected to be responding to 50 questions without noise and all. You shift, there's a problem. You are literally stiff going through that entire process. I don't know if you understand what I mean. And then you now get your result that says you scored 48 over 50. But are you telling me I should not put it that I am a certified Six Sigma professional? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Because they don't see the back end of what you've gone through, they see it as a boast. It's not a boast, man. They earned it. It's earned. And if it makes you happy to put it, then go ahead and put it. You don't really owe anybody any explanation, honestly. And that's how I am. I really don't owe that explanation. You are free, and it's not like when I'm introducing myself, I will introduce myself as Doc. No, I would say to myself, Enobong Ezekiel. I'm sure you and I, we've shared mails, and my responses is always been regards Enobong Ezekiel. I don't put, do you understand where I'm going? But if I'm going to be in maybe places of, give me, but I worked for it. Give me the respect that I deserve. In a humble way, yes. So celebrate your wins. It wasn't easy.
All right. So finally, right. So what legacy do you hope to leave in the world of leadership, transformation, and women empowerment?
I think I said it before, and I'm saying it again. I would leave, a legacy, and I think I said it before, I would say it again, and I would repeat it again. My legacy would be one of a woman that has led others across industries in their personal life, and brought them to limelight of success, where I have shared, what it means to lead with vision and integrity, what it means to define leadership, what it means to reshape a completely different generation that would carry this legacy forward, where these leaders are bold, where they are authentic, where they are transformative. So I would consistently say, and over again, that I want to build, my legacy is to build leaders that are competent, leaders that have a voice, and leaders that are resilient. That's the legacy I want to leave, so that people can rise up and say, you know what, I came, I saw, and I conquered, and I delivered. And then, like one of my mentors will say, I died empty.
Okay. All right. So we've come to the end of this interview section, and I believe, our audience will learn from your expertise and also use, what you've said to guide their journey.
Thank you, Mayo, for having me.
Yes, so we've come to the end of today's episode of Women's Corner 2.0. We hope you've learned from our shared experience, right? So as you all know, Women's Corner magazine is also out, and you can also get your copy too as well and get motivated, start small and grow big, right? And if you also want to share your story, you can reach out to us via our email. Like, subscribe to our channel. Thank you, and stay safe.